Today on the podcast, we're talking about everyone's favorite company, which is, of course, OpenAI, and a bunch of new things that are happening. They had one of their executives on a podcast talking about a new paradigm shift. We're seeing the 2-year anniversary of ChatGPT, and at the same time, all of the Canadian news companies are suing ChatGPT. So there is a ton of ground to cover here, a bunch of new contracts that OpenAI is signing that you probably never heard of. And yeah, there's some interesting stuff. So kicking this over to you, Connor, tell us what you're thinking of this 2-year anniversary we're seeing with ChatGPT.
It's funny. So the 2-year anniversary, Jaeden, question one is, what do people think the 2-year anniversary would have looked like? Like if you had asked people back in January 2023, what would 2 years on look like? I really don't think that this is what we would have said. And the biggest thing for me, as you know, sort of what I'm obsessed with is the adoption levels. And I just think adoption levels have been, on an individual level, people are adopting it a ton. But there was this great article in the Information, this great question and answer session with OpenAI's sales chief. And this guy's GC Leonetti. And I thought he just answered a lot of really interesting questions. What he says is that there's just going to be this paradigm shift in corporate AI spending. So as we know, there's definitely like some kind of AI bubble here, but the AI bubble in 2023 burst very, very quickly as people start to roll out new products that would integrate ChatGPT into Excel, things like that. All of a sudden, the big dogs, the OpenAIs and the Microsofts and the Googles, just started steamrolling all those. And then it shifted to things like agents. I guess the thing is, these bubbles are going to continue to burst. So I'm fascinated with how OpenAI sees this, because they have, billions at stake here. So one of the things I think that they were talking about in this Q&A that I found really interesting, first of all, they're targeting $4 billion in revenue and want to reach $100 billion by 2029. I think anytime you're talking about AI in 2029, nobody knows what they are talking about. But also, OpenAI have expanded by 50% their sales team from 200 people to 300 people. And I just want to kind of get personal here on how I'm seeing this, because even at NYU, we are talking to their teams about, well, what does education look like? How do these things look like? And I have talked to OpenAI sales teams, and I'm mixed on it, Jaeden, I got to say, because I think that what they're still doing is saying, hey, so how do you use this? Here's how you can use it. But the problem, Jaeden, is not the technology, right? The problem is not whether or not this is a phenomenal technology. You cannot look at ChatGPT or Gemini or Anthropic's Claude or anything else and not believe that the technology is phenomenal. The problem that I think OpenAI and everybody else is having is, how do enterprises actually adopt it really widely and broadly? And so what they're talking about is they have great clients in Moderna. I think Moderna is the one that had something like 750 custom GPTs built out. They're working with Lowe's, T-Mobile, T-Mobile signing a $100 million 3-year deal. My question on our 2-year anniversary of ChatGPT, Jaeden, is where are they going? We keep thinking this is going to be the year of blah, 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 but our behavior and how we're doing this is not catching up with the technology. And I'm just thinking, OpenAI, I think, has to find a better way to sell this. Also, let's just say, just on the side, by the way, Anthropic is doing phenomenal, doing a huge catch-up job, everything like that. They're integrating into systems. But I don't know, is this where you thought GPT would be 2 years on? It's obviously incredibly impressive. I'm just wondering sort of if you could go back in your time machine. How do you see all this?
Yeah, no, I think this is obviously it's so fascinating. We're 2 years in. I think a lot of people expected, as you would imagine, right? Like ChatGPT breaks on the scenes. It's so impactful. A lot of people probably expected this thing to be inventing flying cars by this point, and they're disappointed that it's not, because it's all about adoption. Now, I think OpenAI understands this, and they realize that they've probably saturated a very high percentage of the market just because they were the first and they were a fantastic tool, the first and the best. So they saturated, I believe, really highly into the market of just individual users using it. So who are the next users? Where does OpenAI bring this to next, right? Do they have to do like a Facebook play where they like now start going to more third world countries, lower the price, have more free tiers, and try to have freemium models that maybe they're using data that can make their money back, and like, or ads, or like how do they essentially expand more globally than, the couple 100 million monthly active users that it seems like they may have been a little plateaued at for the last little bit? So OpenAI's strategy right now is in essentially getting this into the hands of more companies. So you mentioned Lowe's and Moderna, who are, heavily being targeted right now for this. OpenAI's sales team has grown to about 300 people. It was about 200 in June. So this thing seems to be ramping up. And I think they really are focusing on getting this into the hands of companies that have a huge, a huge employee base, and they can sell like the big contracts. The thing that I wonder though is when you kind of saturated a market where it feels like most business professionals have a ChatGPT subscription, and I know not all are. I'm definitely in a bubble, so I think everyone does, but I know not everyone does because I talk to people that are like, "Wait, what? You pay for that?" Um, but I do believe that there's going to be some level of like Lowe's, for example, if they give it to every employee, there's going to be like, 40 or 50% of Lowe's employees in their corporate headquarters that probably already have a subscription. They're like, sweet, cancel. And so like, I wonder what that trade-off or what that kind of looks like. Undoubtedly they're going to be grabbing more seats doing this and more revenue, but I do feel like there's going to be some sort of unsubscribe rate because this is an interesting tool where it's so applicable for personal users, but also for businesses. So that's an interesting thing. What I will say though, that they are, I think, able to kind of expand their user base on right now, beyond what they've done over the last couple of years, is with their new reasoning models. Apparently, legal, healthcare, and manufacturing businesses are all loving the O1 reasoning models. They're all buying it, and this makes a lot of sense. I, for one, even myself, like, you only get so many messages with the O1 reasoning model right now. And also it's like insanely expensive if you're a developer integrating this into an API. Like, just to give people a heads up, going from GPT 4.0 to the O1 preview is 26 times more expensive. So if it costs you 1 cent for a 4.0 message, it's going to cost you 26 cents for an O1 preview message.
You don't have the consumer, or this is what it costs OpenAI?
Developers. So like if I'm using their API and putting it into my software, so AKA the consumer, like it's going to have to get that cost. So all I'm saying is like, people are like, oh, O1 preview, it's so much better. It's like, yeah, it's 26 times more computational intensive. So it's costing that much more for OpenAI, but also for the developer. Like it's pretty crazy how much more it costs. But all of that being said, I assume we can kind of streamline and get the costs down on that. I think there's going to be a lot of optimization that can be done, especially because that's really just a software update. It's not really a new foundational model. That's just them running the same chat essentially through like a bunch of different queries 26 times. So that's why it costs 26 times as much. But I think it really does have a massive unlock if you look at its performance scores for legal, healthcare, manufacturing. I for one, really don't like asking any complex questions if I'm not using that, because I just know it's not going to have as good of a response. And it's funny because it's like, it obviously also takes a lot longer to come up with a response. You're like sitting there waiting, where ChatGPT 4.0 just like blasts through it. It's like, yeah, I don't care. Like, I'm writing the, terms and conditions for my website. Like, yep, I'll wait 5 extra seconds and have it done really well and thought out versus, something else. So this is not an endorsement to write the terms and conditions of your website with 4.0. Use a lawyer if that's what you want to do, but it is quite capable. Anyways, so I do think though there's going to be a lot of unlocks, and there's a lot of new industries that previously weren't really able to use this because it wasn't quite good enough. And now we're going to start seeing legal, healthcare, manufacturing come online in a bigger way because it's a lot better.
Okay, but this is my question: is that, like, in what I see, and as you guys know probably, so I work with a lot of enterprise, I do a lot of workshops and training and everything else. So what I see over and over again is that there's a subset of people in the organization who really know how to use it. And then there's most of the people who maybe have access to it, but aren't using it. And, my thesis on all this is that it is a behavioral change. It's like giving everybody a treadmill in America and expecting everybody to get into shape. It doesn't work like that. You have to change your behavior around it. And I think a lot of people are getting it and being told, hey, this is an incredible tool to be more productive and everything else. But just like, so is a treadmill. A treadmill is an amazing tool to get you into shape. That's not the problem. The problem is, how do you change people's behavior to use it? And that's the adoption problem that I keep seeing across really every industry. So my fear for OpenAI and these other companies is not getting this into companies, but can they see an ROI on it? Meaning, and I believe that there is, and Jaeden, you believe that there is too. I know that, but how do you get everybody? Because the ROI comes when everybody's actually using it. And so right now they're putting in and be like, this is what you can do with all this thing. But the problem is actually changing the use. So I just I guess 2 years on, I am seeing some of this from OpenAI. I mean, think about the interface from OpenAI, right? They went from just a blank search bar to those questions, like plan a trip for me to Barcelona, and how do I plant tulips? And now it's more Yeah, Jaeden, by the way, watch this on YouTube, guys. Jaeden does all this cool thing. So you see Jaeden now, it's like, create an image. Do you want to code? Do you want to summarize text? Do you want to help you write? Do you want to analyze image? It's more of a, what kind of task do you want to do? And the funny thing is that with all those different possibilities, brainstorm, all those things, they all lead to the same motto. It's more for us. So I think that this coming year is going to be all about user interface. And if ChatGPT and OpenAI can crack that, then they'll get some serious adoption going. You know what I mean?
Yep, 100%. And lots of great use cases. For example, I said surprise me, and it surprised me by checking the farmer's almanac to tell me what today is a good day for. Apparently, a great day for castrating farm animals, mowing to increase growth, and digging holes.
Okay, I remember to say, guys, if you ain't what I never knew I needed. If you're audio only, and I really encourage you to check out our YouTube. Hold on, pause on this screen. I'm just going to read to you. Literally, Jaeden did the version of the Google I feel lucky kind of thing. It's a check farmer's almanac. You didn't ask it to do that. And here are just some of the favorable activities for today, right? And we're recording this one on December 2nd. So it's mowing to increase growth, digging holes, waxing floors, potting training, baking, and again, castrating farm animals. But who's like, oh my gosh, thank God it popped up on it. That's exactly what I was trying to figure out today. This is where OpenAI, Google, Microsoft, Meta, all these companies, Anthropic, have to figure out how do we get people actually using it. And I will tell you that it is not the thing that Jaeden just did. Anyway, that's what's interesting to me. Happy 2-year anniversary to ChatGPT. Jaeden, any other thoughts? Do you want to wish ChatGPT a happy birthday or anything?
Okay, the last thing I'll say, if you do literally want some good ideas of use cases, I would head on over to Reddit. There's a thread created by Axios, a news agency. Smart on them, good marketing to create this thread. But they said 2 years in, how do you use ChatGPT? There's a whole bunch of great responses. People are saying to ideate, create, review, summarize, translate, analyze, and learn anything that comes up. Some people are saying it has completely replaced search engines for them. I was listening to a podcast today where people are saying they don't ask. Okay, so here's something that's really funny about that. Axios asked them, like, what do you like about ChatGPT over others like Google or Bing? And they're like, I find it gets around SEO junk websites. The funny thing is all those SEO junk websites are created by AI. So it's like Perplexity gets rid of the spam that AI has created. AI is solving AI's problems. It's pretty funny. Anyways, there's actually a lot of great use cases in here. So I'd recommend go checking out that Reddit thread. There's a lot of stuff. The last thing I just wanted to throw out there that's exciting is that all of the Canadian news companies are currently suing OpenAI. I won't beat this too much because we've talked about the same thing with the New York Times suing. It's pretty much the same lawsuit. It's just a new group of news organizations filing a new lawsuit to stop ChatGPT from using their content in there. And I really think it's honestly like a bid for attention, sort of, not necessarily, essentially a bid for attention to just say like, hey, pay us. So I think a lot of these news organizations see someone like the New York Times getting some sort of pay deal or Axel Springer getting some sort of pay deal. They want to be included in it. So I don't see why you wouldn't see every major news organization sue OpenAI, since if one has won, everyone will do it. And they're going to have to come up with some sort of payment thing or licensing deal. So that'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see if any other sort of sites other than just news agencies can get that. But interesting. There's a lot coming down the pipe. Happy birthday, ChatGPT. Happy second birthday. I'm excited to see where we are on year 3, what sorts of new things we're using it for. And of course, we would love to hear from all of you. If you are not already following Conor over on LinkedIn, you absolutely should be. He's an absolute celebrity and posts incredible stuff every single day. So tag us over on LinkedIn. And I'm a much smaller account on LinkedIn, but I do post there as well. So follow us on LinkedIn and tag us in what you are using ChatGPT for. And the final thing I will say to you is, if you have not already gotten Conor's AI mindset course, you absolutely have to. It completely will change the way that you think about AI, the way you use AI. It's not like a copy and paste, here's 5 prompts that are useful. This is a literal framework on how you can change your behavior with using AI, and a lot of really powerful stuff. So I'd highly recommend that. The link is in the show notes to go and get the course. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we will catch you all next time.